Let's continue with part 2 of your CDL knowledge review. This section covers critical safety, hours of service, HOS, and specialized vehicle operation concepts. What is the maximum number of hours a property carrying driver can drive after 10 consecutive hours off duty? 11 hours. This is the core driving limit rule, defining the maximum time behind the wheel following a proper rest break. On to the next one. The 14-hour rule for property carrying drivers refers to the maximum number of hours a driver can be on duty after coming on duty. What is this limit? 14 consecutive hours. Once you start your shift, this 14-hour clock includes all on-duty and rest time and cannot be extended. What's after this? How often should air tanks in an air brake system be drained? At the end of each working day. Draining removes moisture and oil, preventing rust and freezing within the brake system components. Moving on. What is the primary purpose of the supply pressure gauge in an air brake system? To show how much air pressure is in the air tanks. This gauge monitors the system's total stored air, indicating the pressure available for braking. So what's next? In a dual air brake system, if a low air pressure warning comes on for one system, you should stop and safely park your vehicle immediately. A dual system warning signifies a serious leak in half of your braking system, requiring an immediate and safe stop. Next on our list, when should you apply the parking brake? Every time you park your vehicle. Always set the parking brake to prevent accidental rolling, even on level ground. Okay, what's after this? Why is it more dangerous to drive an empty truck than a fully loaded one? Empty trucks require greater stopping distance because they have less traction. With less weight over the drive axles, the tires are more likely to lock up and skid during braking. Let's move on. What is brake fade and what is its most common cause? Brakes lose effectiveness due to excessive heat. Overuse on long downgrades causes overheating, which significantly reduces friction and stopping power. What about this next one? What can happen if you do not have enough weight on your steering axle? Steering axle weight may be too light to steer safely, poor traction. Insufficient weight on the front tires can cause the vehicle to wander or lose grip in turns. On to the next question. What is the purpose of blocking and bracing in cargo securement? To prevent the cargo from sliding or tipping. Blocking prevents horizontal movement, bracing prevents vertical movement, tipping or rocking. Moving forward. Which types of cargo are considered unstable loads that require extra caution on curves? Hanging meat and livestock. The shifting nature of these loads creates a higher risk of rollover on curves or during sudden maneuvers. Let's consider the next one. When driving a vehicle with a high center of gravity, what is the greatest danger? Rollover when taking curves or swerving. The high center of gravity makes the vehicle less stable and more likely to tip over during lateral forces. And the next point. How can you check the slack adjusters on your air brake system? Park on level ground, chock the wheels, release the parking brake, and pull hard on each slack adjuster. If the push rod moves more than 1 inch, the brakes are out of adjustment. What's next? When stopped on a hill, how can you start moving without rolling backward? Use the parking brake or trailer brake hand valve to hold the vehicle until engine power is applied. This hill start technique prevents rollback until the clutch and accelerator can engage. Moving on to this, what are the two main ways to tell you when to shift to a different gear, engine speed M and road speed, MPH? Listening to the engine sound, RPM, and checking the speed gauge guides smooth gear selection. All right, let's see. What should you do before entering a curve? Slow to a safe speed and downshift to the proper gear. Brake and downshift before the curve so you can accelerate slightly through it for better control. What's after this? What is the maximum allowable play, free play, in the steering wheel of a CMV? More than 10 degrees, or 2 inches on a 20-inch wheel, must be fixed. Excessive play indicates looseness in the steering system that compromises control. Next question. What does a red triangle with an orange center seen on the back of a vehicle signify? It is a slow-moving vehicle, traveling 25 miles per hour or less. This emblem warns faster drivers that the vehicle ahead is traveling at a significantly lower speed. Let's get to this one. What must you check on the windshield during the pre-trip inspection? Wipers and washer fluid level / operation. Clear visibility is non-negotiable for safe driving and must be confirmed. Okay, what's next? What does the abbreviation GVWR stand for? Gross vehicle weight rating. This is the maximum operational weight the vehicle's manufacturer specifies it can safely carry. Moving on, what is the difference between GVW and GVWR? GVW is the actual weight. GVWR is the maximum weight rated by the manufacturer. GVW is the measured weight at any time. GVWR is the hard limit. So what's next? What is the primary cause of a rear drive wheel braking skid? Applying the brakes too hard, causing the drive wheels to lock up. Locking the drive wheels causes a loss of traction and control, often leading to a jackknife in combinations. Next on our list, what action should you take to correct a drive wheel braking skid? Stop braking, turn quickly, and countersteer. Release the brake pedal completely to allow the wheels to roll and regain steering control. Okay, what's after this? If you are involved in a crash, what is the first action you should take to prevent another crash? Protect the area, set out warning devices. Warning others prevents secondary crashes, which are often more severe. Let's move on. How often must you recheck your cargo and securing devices during a trip? After driving for 3 hours or 150 miles and after every break. This federally required check ensures the load hasn't shifted and is still secure. What about this next one? What is the purpose of header boards, headache racks? To protect the driver from cargo that might shift forward in a crash or hard stop. This strong barrier prevents loads from entering the cab. On to the next question. When driving in very hot weather, what happens to tar on the road pavement? It bleeds and makes the road surface slippery. The road surface can become oily and slick due to melting tar, reducing tire traction. Moving forward. What can happen if you force an automatic transmission into a lower gear at high speeds? Damage to the transmission and loss of engine braking effect. Attempting to force a downshift too early can severely damage the gearbox. Let's consider the next one. What is the proper way to hold the steering wheel? With both hands on opposite sides of the wheel. This provides the best control and leverage in the event of a sudden event like a tire blowout. And the next point. Where should you place your reflective triangles if you stop on a curve or hill where visibility is reduced? Place them up to 500 feet before the vehicle. The furthest warning device must be placed where it provides maximum advance notice to traffic. What's next? When transporting livestock, why is extra caution needed on curves? The moving animals can lean and shift the vehicle's center of gravity. The shifting weight of the live load can dangerously compound the lateral forces of a curve. Moving on to this. What is one of the most important things to check when inspecting an open-top trailer, flatbed, load? The cargo is covered to protect it from weather and to protect people from spilled cargo. Beyond securement, ensuring the cargo is covered prevents road debris hazards. All right, let's see. What should you check before transporting a sealed load? You are not exceeding the gross weight or axle weight limits. The driver is ultimately responsible for legal weight limits, even if they didn't load the cargo. What's after this? If you are driving a vehicle that is over 13 feet tall, what must you be constantly aware of? Clearance height of bridges, overpasses, and signs. Always know your vehicle's height to avoid striking overhead structures. Next question. How often is a CDL holder required to submit to a DOT medical examination? At least every 2 years. This is required to maintain the physical qualifications needed to safely operate a CMV. Let's get to this one. What are the 4 main responsibilities a driver has related to cargo? Inspect, recognize overloads, know it is secured, and ensure it does not obscure your view access to equipment. These 4 points summarize the driver's legal and safety duties regarding the load. Okay, what's next? What is the proper distance for bringing your vehicle to a complete stop before the nearest rail of a railroad crossing? Between 15 and 50 feet. This ensures a safe margin from the tracks without obstructing other roadways. Moving on. When are you prohibited from shifting gears while crossing railroad tracks? Anytime you are actually crossing the tracks, shifting can cause the vehicle to stall, leaving it vulnerable on the tracks. So, what's next? What is the rule regarding the use of lighted flame-producing emergency signals, flares? They cannot be used if your vehicle is carrying flammable materials. Flares can ignite flammable cargo or spills. Use reflective triangles instead. Next on our list, what is the main danger when driving through a tunnel or coming out of a long tunnel? Sudden changes in light, road conditions, and strong winds when exiting. Your eyes need time to adjust to the light change, and strong exit winds can push the vehicle laterally. Okay, what's after this? What should you do if your service brakes fail while on the road? Pump the brake pedal, shift to a lower gear, and use the parking brake gently. Pumping may restore air pressure, engine braking helps slow the vehicle, and the parking brake is a last resort. Let's move on. What is the definition of aggressive driving? Operating a vehicle in a selfish, bold, or pushy manner without regard for others' rights or safety. This driving behavior significantly increases the risk of a crash. What about this next one? What are the risks of driving while ill? Slow reaction time, impaired chair judgment, and potential loss of consciousness. Driving while sick is a serious safety risk and violates the duty to drive safely. On to the next question. Why is it unsafe to drive with a cargo load piled high, even if it is secured? It raises the vehicle's center of gravity, increasing the risk of rollover on curves. Height severely compromises stability, regardless of how well the load is tied down. Moving forward, how far should a driver look ahead when driving in a city environment? At least 1 city block. Scanning a block ahead provides enough time to react to traffic lights, pedestrians, and sudden stops. Let's consider the next one. What does it mean to stab brake? Applying the brakes hard until the wheels lock, then releasing them until the wheels unlock, and repeating. This is an emergency technique for non-ABS vehicles to maximize braking while preventing a prolonged skid. And the next point. When are you allowed to use a handheld cell phone while operating a CMV? Never, except to call emergency services. Federal regulations prohibit the use of a handheld mobile phone while driving a CMV. What's next? What is the potential consequence of driving a CMV with a revoked, suspended, or canceled CDL? Disqualification of the CDL and possible fines, jail time. This is a severe violation resulting in mandatory loss of commercial driving privileges. Moving on to this. What should you do immediately if you see a small cardboard box in your lane on the highway? Steer around it if it is safe to do so, treating it as a possible hazard. Never assume a seemingly harmless object is safe. Treat all roadway debris as a potential danger. It could contain something heavy. All right, let's see. If you are driving a vehicle with a manual transmission, what should you do every time you leave the vehicle? Set the parking brake and put the transmission in gear. This provides a crucial secondary safeguard against the vehicle rolling away. What's after this?